As Russia's elite from powerful oligarchs to military leaders quietly turn their backs on Putin, what exactly is happening within this power structure? Are the very people who once backed him now preparing for Russia's downfall? This is no longer just about war or politics. It's a tale of power, betrayal, and the looming threat of global instability. Join me as we uncover the ticking time bomb simmering within Russia's power system. What happens when those who once defended the regime turn their backs on the very leader they once served? As oligarchs and generals who were once loyal to Putin begin to distance themselves, it signals a major power crisis. Russia, long known for its tightly controlled leadership, now faces an inevitable collapse from within as internal divisions deepen. This is no longer just a matter of war, but the unraveling of the very power structures that have kept Putin in place for so long. One of the fundamental principles for maintaining power is securing the support of a country's influential factions. When loyalty wavers, oligarchs and the military will no longer have any reason to protect Putin, especially when their own interests are at stake. This could trigger a chain reaction from internal fractures to public discontent, ultimately leading to the collapse of the regime. The loss of power will come faster if Putin fails to adjust his strategy and preserve the loyalty of those who once served him. Russian oligarchs aren't just businessmen. They've amassed power by closely aligning themselves with the regime, receiving privileges and benefits from Putin's system. However, with Russia's economy struggling due to the Ukraine war and the ruble collapsing, the security of their assets is becoming increasingly uncertain. The big question now is whether they will remain loyal to Putin. As the damages mount and international sanctions erode their wealth, the oligarchs' loyalty is being put to the test. With their economic interests no longer guaranteed, it's very likely that some are quietly planning a shift. Rather than openly opposing Putin, they may be waiting for the right moment to protect their personal interests without taking too much risk. These calculations could lead to significant shifts in Russia's power structure in the near future. Why are the oligarchs turning against Putin? For years, Russian oligarchs relied on their relationship with Putin to maintain their power and wealth. However, the war in Ukraine and international sanctions have dealt a severe blow to the Russian economy, diminishing the value of their assets. These oligarchs are growing increasingly uneasy as Putin fails to safeguard their economic interests. As Russia's economy crumbles, they face the risk of losing everything, creating a conflict of loyalty. The oligarchs' defection likely stems from the realization that loyalty no longer guarantees the safety of their wealth and future. With the regime becoming more unstable and Putin's control weakening, they are beginning to question whether maintaining ties with him is still worthwhile, especially as their financial stability is under serious threat. Once loyalty no longer ensures their benefits, it's only natural that the oligarchs would turn their backs on Putin. What role do military commanders play? The role of military commanders in the Ukraine war has become a key factor in the stability of Putin's regime. These commanders are facing enormous pressure, not only from failures on the battlefield, but also from the need to redeploy troops to Moscow to protect the capital against potential attacks. High casualty rates and internal tensions are testing their loyalty. Their discontent stems not only from military failures, but also from the tough decisions they've had to make, bearing responsibility for the mounting losses within the army. Many commanders feel constrained by ineffective strategies and a lack of resources, causing their loyalty to Putin to fade. Military failure is not just a battlefield issue. It's also eroding the trust that military commanders have in Putin's leadership. As troop redeployments strain their forces and they see Putin's strategies faltering, the likelihood of commanders turning against him increases. The military is a crucial pillar of Putin's power, and if their support wanes, his grip on power could be seriously threatened. Signs of internal collapse. The war in Ukraine has exposed signs of internal weakness within Russia. One of the most telling signs is that Ukrainian forces have not only mounted counterattacks, but have also occupied parts of Russian territory, like Kursk and Belgorod. These areas, once considered safe defensive lines, have been breached with surprising ease, revealing a lack of preparedness and corruption within Russia's military apparatus. Fortifications once thought impenetrable have quickly crumbled under Ukrainian assaults, illustrating the leadership's weaknesses. The failure to defend key military strongholds in Russia has not only shaken public trust in the military, but has also led the leadership to question Putin's legitimacy. Ukraine's repeated strikes on important areas, combined with irreparable economic and military losses, are fueling chaos within Russia's ranks. These events are not just tactical failures, but reflect a broader collapse in Putin's governance. Inability to protect the nation's borders has caused both military and civilian leaders to doubt Putin's ability to steer the country through this crisis. Corruption and chaos in the war effort are clear indicators of internal collapse. The once tightly controlled and loyalty-based system is now fracturing, and those who once stood by Putin may soon abandon him as their own interests are threatened. Oligarchs and loyalty under pressure. In Putin's early years, he struck a deal with the oligarchs: stay out of politics and your wealth will be safe. However, this arrangement has been eroded as Putin has tightened his grip, and many oligarchs now face the risk of losing their assets. A prime example is Mikhail Khodorkovsky, who challenged Putin's power and was imprisoned with his assets confiscated. This sent a clear message: loyalty no longer guarantees protection. The oligarchs' dilemma between safeguarding their assets or staying loyal to Putin has left them in a precarious position. They now realize that, no matter how loyal they are, Putin's policies and power ambitions can threaten their wealth at any moment. This has led many oligarchs to distance themselves from Putin, seeking to protect their interests through other means, particularly by moving assets abroad and seeking protection from Western countries. This internal unrest among the oligarchs will undoubtedly play a crucial role in the weakening of Putin's regime. Military and internal conflicts. The Russian military, once a symbol of Putin's power and dominance, has now become an obvious weak point. Severe manpower shortages and battlefield failures have eroded public confidence. Moreover, military commanders face intense pressure from these failures, with the most notable example being Yevgeny Prigozhin's and the Wagner Group's rebellion in June 2023. This highlighted the growing disloyalty within the Russian military. Prigozhin's rebellion wasn't just the dissatisfaction of a small group. It reflected deep internal divisions within Russia's military system. Commanders struggling with a lack of resources, ineffective strategies, and heavy losses are increasingly losing faith in Putin's leadership. If the military, which is the backbone of Russian power, continues to fracture, Putin's collapse will become inevitable. Internal failures and the country's breakdown. Ukraine's attacks on Belgorod and Kursk marked a turning point, exposing Russia's internal weaknesses. The breaching of the borders and the destruction of key military bases shook the image of the Russian army, once believed to be invincible. Beyond the physical damage, this was a severe blow to the public's and leadership's confidence in Putin's ability to protect the nation. The failures in Belgorod and Kursk weren't just military shortcomings. They signaled a lack of preparedness and leadership within Russia in the face of emerging threats. These defeats not only weakened Russia's military standing internationally, but also caused the Russian people to start losing faith in Putin's leadership. This could lead to even greater internal instability as Putin's power continues to be threatened from both inside and outside. Can Putin hold on to power as the very people who once stood by him are now plotting against him? With growing cracks within Russia's power structure, from the oligarchs to the military, Putin faces an unprecedented challenge. Oligarchs feel their wealth is threatened, The military suffers from battlefield losses, and leadership is increasingly questioning his ability to lead. Putin once relied on loyalty and fear to maintain his grip on power, but as loyalty wanes, those who once protected him may become his greatest threat. The current situation is like a simmering volcano. The internal divisions, combined with external pressures, will determine whether Putin can survive the crisis. Without decisive change or smart strategy, the collapse of his power may not come from the wars he's fighting, but from those once loyal to him. While Ukraine may not achieve total victory on the battlefield, Russia's internal unraveling could be the key to toppling Putin. The political game now is not just about military battles, but a fierce struggle within Russia itself. Those who once defended the regime are now its greatest threat to Putin's future.